so that it accommodates natural language, and as a result people don't find stuff and they throw their hands up and say, oh, I searched 1 million times, I put in 5 different versions and I still couldn't find it.
Yeah, that's one of the things. That's hard to do because you gotta have like 7 million things in a database because people,
because
people
they
are
also
gonna,
want a response,
they
they
want
like,
to. They want to know, like, if you have a page for Riverside, they want to be able to type in Riverside in any combination of the letters and get to Riverside.
I don't know how hard search is.
I mean, it's a big challenge, and one of the things that our users consistently say, they know we have a functionality-rich software. We're the world leader when it comes to GIS, but they can't find stuff.
Yeah.
We actually are just working with this new search. It's called, I'll show it to you guys. It's called Queerly.
Okay.
So when you start typing like
Clearly?
Queerly,
Okay, Queerly.
I'm so sorry.
It'll bring
I
up
feel
like-
so
Oh,
bad.
no,
I'm sitting over there. I can't
it'll
really see
these
anything.
are the options. This is like the search that happens.
Oh, so it's a visual kind of a
Yeah.
content it brings up?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It gives you an image with it.
Nice.
Yeah, and like a little snippet of it.
Yeah.
Wow, how fast is that? I mean, you keep changing that to Riverside and it'll change?
Yeah, and it'll show
Autocomplete.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I have, as far as top navigation goes, that's usually where you suck your users in. From a UI perspective, at least from what I've seen. Like if I go to a
That's
website,
where you what?
where you grab the user's attention, usually because that's the first place they look. They look up to the left, to the right.
Left to right.
Yeah, generally.
Western, yeah.
Western, yes.
So, what do you guys think of in terms of like, because I've seen a lot, like in PE, like on the Press Enterprise page, it literally is just the word PE blogger. Like you can almost do that in straight text, and have that, and still you don't even have to worry about Photoshop. It's just there.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah. So, quick question: What do you guys think of like logo design? I mean, does an elaborate logo not work, or?
Because when you're designing for a logo, you have to think about the different applications that it's going to be used in. So if it's going to be small to something large to something, you still want to be able to have it recognized. So if it's something really elaborate, and also who you're trying to attract. So if it's really elaborate, sometimes it doesn't scale very nicely.
I made that mistake.
Yeah, I mean I can get pretty elaborate with my logos too because it just looks pretty, and then
I've
when you
never
get
been
it
much
really,
of an artist, but
when you
like,
get it really
it's
small,
cool now because like I don't feel like I don't have to be anymore. But at least not in today's world. But I realize that that's not always the case. Tomorrow there could be a trend for guys that do Salvador Dali on their logo. I mean that could be like the next big trend. So I guess what do you guys think about the? I mean, it just seems like there's just a lot of very simple logos out there. Very simple, just simple typographical.
Well, simple is actually one of the hardest things to do.
Because you need to communicate so much in that tight little simple thing, right? That's very hard to do, you're right.
Well, but I also think that like one of the arguments, not necessarily against responsive design, but just like about why a website wouldn't use it is just looking at your audience. Like if your people aren't coming to you on a phone or on a tablet or something, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Because that's not what you want them to do. Like you don't want them to have this little screen thing you want them to look at your desktop site because that's where the interaction is going to happen. And so for us, like it just depends. We have a lot of mobile apps and we have a lot more people coming in on mobile phones. So like she said, if we can have a really cool logo that looks good like here, but then if you put it on a phone or like try to put it on an app, you can't even make it out. We did that. It was terrible. I didn't think about it and then later I was just like, oh.
Yeah, because that's another thing with UI design nowadays. Is you have to think of it. It's no longer just, hey, here's a screen, here's like a television set, make it for this. Now you got to make it for this little bitty Nintendo type screen.
Well, even that, I mean, you have to have a context to it, right? I mean, people, just because there's a trend, everybody wants to go mobile, but there are things like the kind of software I'm involved in, it doesn't make sense unless so for example, human resources software. right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of that, when you're doing your performance reviews, whatever, it is a desktop-based stuff. You can't do it on a mobile phone.
Yeah.
There are only approvals or certain things that you, so you can't really kind of narrow it down to what the purpose is, and that people forget. They want the whole thing going like, oh, let's do responsive with mobile. No, you have to break it down into pieces. Like, what is the purpose of this?
Yeah. It goes back to that whole discovery phase before you even start doing any sort of designing.
Exactly. Well, one good example, because I was actually vying for a what do you call it, leader for the e-reader business for Amazon, and I interviewed really well, but they didn't go through the position itself, so they stopped the position. So there, because of that, I did some due diligence, and what I found was, if you look at Amazon's e-reader, one of the things I would suggest to you, Jessica, is to get yourself like a 25-cent copy of the Financial Times, right? And look at it on your laptop, look at it on your mobile. I actually can show it here, and you can look at it on your tablet. And they've done a pretty good design in terms of how responsive it can be, how the Financial Times can retain its look, but at the same time, when they have like this column to something switch, how the stories would switch. So it's a good example to look at, actually. I would suggest take a look.
Now, do they have different content for the different sites?
No, it's the same content. So
Same
that
set,
was the
so it
deal,
is
right?
100% responsive.
I have
Right.
seen
You
it.
don't see the
I've
same in every app.
You won't see, yeah, exactly. I mean, in a sense, they have like a menu that says, here's a list menu, here's a kind of almost like a thumbnail menu. And so you can switch between the two. So when you go onto the thumbnail, you're going to get quick snippets. But the sad part is the text gets clipped in bad like spaces because it's not intelligent, right? So all of a sudden, your title is getting clipped.
Yeah.
I just wish it was a
120
bit.
characters and that's
Yeah,
it.
it just like clips it off. But they do have a nice way of switching. So in fact, maybe I can show that to you.
And that's another thing, like with logos and stuff, or like what the things that we're doing right now. Like we have a brand, and I have to use certain colors, and I have to use certain fonts, and it's like you guys are killing me.
Well, see, that would be easy for a guy like me because, I don't have that part of my brain that thinks, oh, look, all the colors. Just think, hey, you got this, you got this, you got this. Oh, let's just work with that. Fantastic.
See,
now I
now
can
this
get back
is,
to coding.
So with the logos, it really is very. It has to say a lot
Check
with
this
only
out
doing
so
a
you
little.
can change the
I mean,
fonts.
if you look at Nike, their switch is just that.
You can go section.
But
Check it out.
it's easy to recognize small, big, and that part of it also has to do with the marketing and the branding that they do with exposing it to all of their audiences and everything and being able to relate and quickly identify that's Nike. There's more to it than just the actual image, but I don't know, you really have to think about who you're trying to target, and sometimes it's the last thing that people do.
Mhm.
More often than not.
Yeah, definitely the last thing that they go public with.
They do a lot of research and try to figure out who they're trying to target, what they really want their company to stand for, and then go through different branding exercises and everything like that before they even come up with
Yeah,
a logo.
and for that brand, there are branding specialists. Yeah.
Right.
They have their own really focused approach as to what is it that this company stands for in the world, and where does the competition come in, and what is it that we do that really singles us out and that makes us shine, and that's what they focus on.
And logos, I think, are starting to have more personalities, and so having a humanistic approach to it. Even with the typography and the lettering that people are choosing, they're trying to pick something that looks more humanistic.
Yeah, here is one of the world's topmost brand and logo. There you go.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Jessica, I
Yeah.
wanted to mention to you about the redesign of your website. At our, we also have a developer summit in springtime that is held out in Palm Springs. And we had one of the leading UX people there. His name is Jared Spoon. He spoke. And he just, so I received his tips. And one of the tips that he sent out was radical redesign. And he describes 3 or 4 examples, and one, not giving the name, where the company did a complete redesign of their website. It cost $100 million, and they completely lost they lost at least 50% of their clientele. Then he mentions a couple more, and then he also mentions Amazon. Amazon is consistently, every day, there is something new on their website that people don't even notice. And however, it improves the experience. And that is the redesign that is the most successful, because people don't wander off someplace else because they all of a sudden can't do things anymore. But when they discover, when they sort of stumble upon something, oh, I can do that now. I remember I couldn't do that before, that kind of thing. That to keep that in mind, because I'm already kind of anxious to see what our users will say to our software, because it's a radical redesign and it's focused towards professionals only, which means they have been with us for a long time. There he talks about when you do a radical redesign, you shoot a gigantic hole into your existing user base, because all of a sudden everything they knew how to do they can't do anymore. They will be frustrated, they will get angry, they will all kinds of, because that's not what they came for. And that's not what they actually will dish out a lot of money for, to get and to be able to work with. And as things move more online, and the payment schedules that are being set up for people to work online, you have to provide it every time you do, period, you're on it, and the time clicks, and time clicking means you pay, however much you pay. People won't go for that, so it's going to be really something that we all need to work on and be very conscious of, because the last people you want to lose is the ones that you've had for such a long time, who have been with you through thick and thin, and who are really your champions and your advocates, and support the brand.
Yeah, I mean that's a really great thing to know, and that's something that weighs on us. I feel like really pressured when I'm redesigning something, because I'm just like, oh, there's people. But we actually just redesigned our blogs, and again, like, it was a very difficult process. There was a lot of back and forth, but we finally got to a place where we were just like, we're not taking anything away from the users, we're just improving what is already there, and hopefully making things easier. But our newsroom was like against it. They were just like, you can't change this, and like, how are people gonna find us? And like, they were just really concerned that people, like, our views were gonna go down because nobody was gonna be able to find anything. And I was like, guys, if you looked at the stats, more than 50% of your traffic is from referrals, so it's not a big deal. But I actually had a reporter yesterday write me a very long email about how her numbers were down and how, like, it was supposed to be, helping her. And so I ran the numbers and I checked on the blog overall, and overall it's been like 15% up. Everything, unique views, like page views, visits, people, bouncing around the pages and stuff. So, I mean, for us, like, that's a success. It's only been a month, and we're already doing like 15% better, which is great. And so it's kind of like, it's one of those things that it's just like maybe your individual ones are suffering, but that might have been an imbalance before. Like, you were just getting a lot more attention when everybody should have been getting equal amounts. So it is something like the people in it, and also the audience, like, there's two different audiences sometimes.
So the table topic that we had today was different resources. I don't know if you guys like sharing the different resources, which is why I'm trying to take notes. So of different places that you go to build your skills, or to improve on your UX, or get tools and tips. I know Jared Spool's newsletter is something that I do subscribe to. So if you guys aren't on that, that's a good one to look into. But I mean,
I go on lynda.com because I'm still into, and I just noticed that Art Center, Linda actually used to teach there. And so she has for all Art Center students free. So I stopped paying $30 a month as of last week. So really good. And for me, because I'm learning, I mean, this is all new for me. Even so, I'm getting into Axer or Azure, whichever you pronounce it. And so I'm using lynda.com. That's one good resource that I like to use. There are, I mean, the other big one is LinkedIn, which is full of a lot of stuff. If you have the groups, you will start getting other links and topics.
What is
People are just LinkedIn.
Oh,
on
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn
sorry.
itself. If you become a part of certain groups, you start getting a lot of good resources right there.
I'm sure you all are also aware there is a usability website from the government.
Oh yes,
It's
the
called usability.gov.
GOV, right.
And it is actually
Pretty
impressive.
good, right? Yeah.
Impressive. I'm thinking, it's useful. It has useful information. I thought, and I took training in the middle of April in San Francisco with Human Factors International. Can't wait to somehow get certified. I don't know.
How do you like it? Good?
Oh, it was amazing. It was so amazing. We were 16 people from, everybody came from a different field. And we had so much fun together, and we had there was no competition or no having to up somebody with your story. We sat together, we worked together, and it was just really nice. And the people who taught us, they are practitioners. I had 2 classes. The second class was usability testing, and the woman has been in the field for a long time. She's out. She does the teaching on the side because she has so many
What's her name?
assignments. Pamela something. Pamela, I'm not good in remembering names, but Pamela is definitely her first name. And she's San Francisco based.
Okay.
If you want to, I'll send you her name. It was really, really helpful. Really helpful. And they're well recognized as well.
I've been wanting to go to UX Week.
HFI.
I've been wanting to go to UX Week by now I can't even remember the name of the company. Adaptive.
Oh yes,
I've been always wanting to go. That one's
Um,
like a
I'm linked in with the CEO because we went to the same school.
really.
Before he even joined, I actually they bid for Magellan for me,
Oh,
so I know them. Even Dan Saffer used to be there. So I don't know. If it's being taped, I can't say much. Because I went to them through Samsung as well.
Oh,
So I've
okay.
had chances to interact with them. They're very, how would I say, academic in a sense, you know. So that's kind of, Cooper is another one. I would go to Cooper University. So Alan Cooper's company, right?
Okay.
Cooper Software, the Persona guy. And I just discovered Lane Haley. Actually, I saw her name in his book about face as part of the scenario design, scenario stuff. And I'm like, wow, she used to work there for quite a while.
Oh, okay.
But so that's another. They have a Cooper University. So anybody who wants to actually get into that, I can provide you with some contacts because one of the speakers for the LAUX, NELUX or whatever they call it, at the Art Center, that was their first event. One of the directors from Cooper came, and he's written this fantastic book about how the sci-fi movies can influence UX. Right? He's written this big book. What is the name of it?
Oh yeah, like in what was that movie
Yeah.
with the
There are all kinds of examples he gives, right? What Minority Report?
Minority
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like was it Tom Cruise?
Yeah. So where was I? I was like moved
Yeah.
from Cooper to this, but he's at Cooper also. I just I met him, so he's at Cooper. So Cooper is a good course too. I don't know how much they charge. It could be expensive.
Or what do you mean by expensive? See, that's always a question.
Yeah, right.
If you buy $800 on classes, what is expensive to you?
Well, no, I'm not that rich. It was just my fad, right? I mean, I don't do that anymore. This is probably an Indian, I don't know, Italian frame bought in India for less than $100. But I still have expensive ones sitting. But no. I mean, it depends, right? When I was at Samsung, we spent $400,000 on with
Cooper and Associates to understand the US TV personas, and I was the lead project manager on that. So again, depends where you are. Samsung is competing with Apple, so very different story.
Yeah.
Different. But one of my former colleagues' wife actually works there. He was telling me about the Cooper University. It's really good.
What was the newsletter that you said you were signed up for?
Jared Spool.
Jared Spool is one.
Have you heard of Peter Bogarts?
No.
I have his newsletter, and it is pretty. I mean, I can never fully get through all of it, but there's videos, there will be classes, there will be infographics, but I would take a look at that. I'll write down all these websites, but it's information design basically, and he just kind of like posts all the things. There's a lot of like really good conversation and just like new ideas. He's really great. I imagine it's something like that.
I saw someone great recently, and I just don't keep track of it. I'll have to go on history on my computer and look at them. There are some really good ones too. Just bloggers, right? Tech bloggers too. They're just fantastic. Which is the really big tech blog? But that's nothing to do with UX per se. It's just trends, technology trends, Engadget, right?
Engadget.
That's a great one.
And Mashable and
Mashable.
Mashable too, right? They're all. Edward Tufts class. Has anybody taken the information design? Tuft, T-U-F-T-E.
Yeah, Tufty.
Tufty. I call him Tuft, but Tufty. He is supposed to be one of the world's authorities on information design. He's written a whole bunch of books. And for like $320, I think there was one course in San Diego recently for $320 one day worth, and it's worth it.
Yeah,
He's one of the
also
very
when it comes
first
to
ones who.
photography, the use of
Edward. I'm gonna post it.
He's
Oh, okay.
one of the-
I'm trying to
yeah,
think.
he's one of the pioneers in how to design information. So take very complex stuff and just put it together in a beautiful, understandable manner. That's his experience.
and very simple.
Yeah.
Like
And he's written these
one of
amazing
his books has T-shirts in all kinds of different
Oh,
colors.
I've seen that cover.
And you
Okay,
can
yeah.
recognize it, and it's just, you say to yourself, man, this is it. This is
Have you guys heard about ScrollKit?
Scroll Kit? No.
I don't know how to explain this. So the New York Times, or was it the Washington Post? They did this like really elaborate like animation page about like snow something. It was like when it snowed, and like as you scroll, there's a lot of scroll animation. So as you scroll, like stuff happens on the page. And so ScrollKit's this company that takes that scroller CSS stuff, and it makes it to where you don't have to code to do it. So basically, like if I wanted to have like a circle, whoa, I think we need to move. I think it's a sensor.
Oh,
There you go.
let there be light.
So like, for example, I could put like a circle on a page, and if I want it to expand as people scroll, you just click once there and then move it down and then click again, and it'll just do it for you. So we're like trying to work with that, but it's
Is
like,
that
it's,
product has parallax? No, it's a little bit different.
I don't know. I'll bring up some examples.
That sounds cool.
But it's like, it's really complicated because I have designers that they just don't think that way. It's either like video or it's a still image. And so this is taking still images and kind of like making them do and animating them, and it's like it's a totally different thought process, and we're just having a lot of trouble with it.
There was a university in New Zealand. They were trying to get us to look at, when you're scrolling through thousands of photographs, right? And you want to like figure out which one. So they had this software where it was almost like an accelerator, right? Like you keep pushing harder or something, it would just accelerate. It just there were two arrows up and down, and you were using the IBM, what do you call it? Just a simple what's the word?
Joystick?
Yeah, it would be like a joystick on the phone, right?
Thumb-
Some of the
thumb pad?
they used to have joysticks, if you remember, even Blackberries, right? And they were using that for speeding up or going slow. So if you left off your thumb, it would just slow down, and then then you would come to the. So that's the kind of interesting interaction you
I
could
don't know
have.
if you
with these.
could if you could do that nowadays with the. I mean, I don't. Our mice aren't sensitive to that kind of pressure, are they?
I think it depends on. You can translate how long you're holding it.
Okay, so
Right?
if you
it
hold it
doesn't
for
have
like
to be
5
harder.
seconds,
Right.
5 seconds, it's like a little slow, then 10 seconds, then,
Exactly. You can do that. So
or you just have a button on the screen that just says
that's
faster.
an interesting concept, even when you're looking at news articles, like you're blowing through them like a scroll, but then you want to slow down, like something just kind
Caught
of
your
pop
eye.
right. Yeah, caught your eye. So
So this one, it's kind of like as you scroll, and this is about
Hydraulic fracture.
And so as you go, it just kind of takes you through like the life of like this. Okay, so what is fracking? And then as you scroll, like stuff's happening. You see where the water is.
dangers of fracking. That's the website.
Yeah, but as you can see, like none of these things are moving on their own. Like they're just images. And
Looks like
so
Spy Hunter,
as you scroll,
the old video game.
yeah. And so like different stuff pops up, or
Yeah.
like the page changes, other
Yeah.
things. So it's just like that sort of thing. And now that, because before like you had to have tons of people trying to code all this and like get all the animations going.
I never saw that.
So these
before,
are
like,
independent
jQuery.
widgets that just appear at that
I've
time. right?
never seen anything like that before jQuery actually existed. And that's Flash maybe, but Flash was huge
Yeah.
overhead.
Yeah.
Now with jQuery and with Ajax, you can do that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, I never saw any of that before jQuery. None of that stuff could happen.
Yeah.
You know.
But it also takes like one of if you just Google scroll kit, like the story comes out about how they were getting into a fight with the New York Times and the Washington Post about copyright infringement because they like copied the same animation. It wasn't the same code, but it was the same animation. And it's just like you can't copyright the animation. Like that doesn't make any sense. And so
Only mine can scroll.
because they were bragging that they reproduced it in like a matter of hours when the New York Times and the Washington Post was saying that it had taken them like months and like
Forever.
all these people on all these days, and it's like no, we have the capability to do it now.
Yeah.
And it's so like these things like if you're a designer but you're not good with like this type of code, like this would help you like have those animations.
Yeah, wow.
But it's like it's a totally different
You're
way of
asking
thinking.
a lot from these guys. I'm just kidding. Just like, you're so far ahead of them. I know.
So
Well, jQuery isn't easy. I mean, jQuery
Yeah.
makes things easy, but it by far isn't easy. I mean, like you said, it does take there's a lot of JavaScript under that plugin. But like jQuery itself, I mean, you can have simple things like slideshows or nothing. But when you get into stuff like that, that's a whole nother ballgame.
yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of SitePoint?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some pretty good information there when it comes to like IA or usability
Learnable.
and learnable. Yes,
Yeah.
that's another one.
I'm going to share about 3 or 4 websites with you guys. There were some designers on how to fold and unfold, almost like an origami information in front of you. And the reason I was looking at that was when we were at Samsung. So I was at the Samsung IPTV lab, user experience lab. So we were trying to see all these, new ways of presenting information content to people. And there were some really, really cool concepts. So I have some links. I need to actually find that document which has the links and then send it to you. Some really cool stuff to look at. To know how, just moving your mouse, how things can be moved around and flattened out or broken into 3 or 4 pieces and things like that.
Some things like that also
Yeah.
get triggered by where you focus your eyes. So it
Yeah.
has iris detecting
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
software behind it, and wherever you focus, that's
That is open
where
up,
you kind of
yeah.
But you need a camera or something for that.
Well,
You need
yeah, there is
it's like-
something.
I mean, you'd have to have a camera. They would have to actually track your eyeballs.
Right.
And then they,
some
that would kind of
screens-
freak me out a little bit.
some screens have built that in.
Isn't
so-
there a new phone that does something like that where it
Yeah.
stops playing
There
if
is
you
one.
look away?
Samsung does.
Yeah, okay. I was like, there's
Yeah,
that.
getting back to Minority
A lot of
Report,
those.
you don't even have to touch the screen anymore,
Yeah.
which is really cool. I guess they use static or something to do that.
I don't know what I don't. Quite frankly, when it comes to some of the stuff that sits behind there, and for me, hearing from the programmer or knowing the programmer operates on, they want to achieve the maximum effect with a minimal input. All
Mhm.
programmers are the laziest people that there are.
That's why they program.
They want to produce the biggest impact with the least work, and when
Actually-
when
actually,
it functions, they say it works, and it works on my
Actually,
machine.
there
And
is-
so why does it not work on your machine? Trouble with your
There's
machine.
actually Larry Wall, the inventor of Perl, the Perl programming language.
Yeah.
He wrote a big article. And he said one of the, and it's actually in the, I think it's, well, I don't know, it's the llama book, the camel book, some type of alpaca, some type of hump on its back type of book.
O'Reilly.
Yeah. But they actually said one of the virtues of programmers is they're lazy.
Yes.
And one of the things that you got to take away from that is, it's not that they're lazy, just they don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again.
Exactly.
You know, like I love the fact that I can get plugins now that do what I need. I used to hate having to do drop-down menus. Now with jQuery, it's like 2 lines of code and you're done.
Yeah. And somebody else has done them for you, has figured it all out.
Right.
So
Yeah,
all you
and
need to do
that's
is
and that's the easy part. Now you still got to do the, although I am looking into jQuery classes for this, but you still got to check for user input.
Yes, absolutely.
And you still got to do that on the back end with the PHP and with everything like that. Open source guy, but the thing is, what I'm saying is that with the way programmers think is if they fixed it once and it works and security's built in and it does the right amount of checking and it does the right amount of this and it does, and it makes sure that the user input is sanitized and this and this. They're like, hey, I'm done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Move on to something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why this interface, also what you talked about, this, because when you do UX, good UX, you ask the programmer to do more.
Well, that's not
Or
necessarily.
change their mind, the way
Actually,
they
that's
think,
just
right?
that's
Because
just
it's
them being
absolutely
really
out
lazy.
there.
Because I can tell you honestly that going through like what you guys are saying, going through like a mock-up. Because I have done both sides of it. I kind of do freelance. Like I said, I'm trying to get a website up right now, and that part of my brain just doesn't want to work. But the thing is that when you actually do the initial mock-up, you have the background, you have the layout, and you have everything that you want the user to see. Then it's not that hard to actually take that, if you're smart, to actually take that and add functionality to it. Like I can add a drop down, I can add a slideshow, I can add multiple things going here and multiple things going there. I could add fade-ins, I could add whatever you want, you can add. So, and especially for back-end stuff, there's chances are that guy's probably got a library of snippets that he already wrote, that he has in a folder secretly on his desktop, that he could just go into and just pull it out. So unless you're asking for something outrageous, like so outrageous that it just could never be done, I wouldn't buy that
Probably
argument.
there. Yes.
Again, I don't know what you're asking, so I wouldn't. But I think Shri would probably agree with me. That unless it's really outrageous, there's no reason why it can't be done.
I think even if it's outrageous, it's just a matter of figuring it out and playing around with it enough to, it's like, because maybe you can't just use one snippet, but you could use a mixture of snippets. I don't know, just.
I've been in this company for almost 20 years. Wow. So we've gone through a lot of software release cycles, and every time it can't be done, it is exactly because they don't want to do it. Everything can be done. There is nothing you cannot do programmatically. And if they say, then they don't have the right software or the right program, the right compiler, whatever it is, or no compiler.
Or they have a spaghetti code that you cannot untangle anymore.
It can always be done. And the wonderful thing is what I have discovered over these years, eventually it comes.
Eventually.
I said it 6 years ago, and nothing ever happened. Somebody in between said the same thing, nothing ever happened, and now all of a sudden, voila, next day we have it. And it's like, wonderful, it took a long time, but we have arrived.
Well, now a lot of that is too, especially when you're talking about groundbreaking stuff or stuff that's never been done before, that does take forever. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, if you're talking about stuff that's never ever been done,
Yeah.
it's going to take a long time, especially if it's like state of the art. I mean, you know, that's why they have 32 programmers working overtime at like, you know, Amazon or something or whatever, you know.
That's a whole different scale and volume.
No, but what I'm saying is that, well, they probably have hundreds, but I'm just saying that's why when they say that it can't be done, it's not that it can't be done. Maybe it's that it can't be done in 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
What the deadline is.
Yeah, I mean, now that I can absolutely understand. If you want it tomorrow, no, I can't do that. You know, I can try, but it's not going to happen. Whereas if you want it, you know, in 2 months or 3 months, well, that might be all right.
I'll wrap my head around it.
So, yeah, exactly.
That reminds me, Amazon has their 10 leadership principles. They're worth looking at. I don't know if anybody's seen it or not, and how they operate, why they're there and that successful.
Okay.
They're just worth looking at. Amazon's 10 leadership principles.
That just reminds me of something that is also internationally what works in this country doesn't always work in another country. In Germany, Amazon is not successful at all just because the way it treats the people. So they haven't
By the way, my
they haven't
former
kicked them
boss-
out of the country yet, but
Yeah. By the way, my former boss is the GM of Amazon's Home and Garden in Munich. He's a director there on that. So
So how they
Christian
treat the
Blumenthal.
people who work there?
oh yeah, they
people are
there was a strike, right?
still completely on strike. Unbelievable. And even physical abuse.
Wow.
What?
I had no idea.
No, man, you can get away with a lot of things when you're not in the
That
U.S.
was warehouse part, right? It was not the software part or any of that.
No,
that was the
no,
warehouse
yeah,
part,
yeah.
right? Yeah, that was the warehouse part. The
But
logistics.
still,
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's not
doesn't
good.
matter.
Well, what do you expect from the country that gave us Hitler?
Okay. So were you taking notes too? Because I can send.
yeah,
you
I was writing these down.
Does anybody else have anything to share as far as like topics, books, websites? I do use UX Mag. I look at. I follow Twitter feeds. Problem is now I have a problem where I'm just getting way too much information. I don't have enough time to read it all or to digest it all, and my
You said
inbox
UX
is,
Mag is that what you said?
yeah, UX Mag or UX Week or something like that. They have a Twitter feed also. So and there's another one that I saw. Oh, it's on my laptop. I can't remember the name.
I got a question. Does anybody have a website? Like, I'm sure this is going to be totally subjective, where they think just, oh, that's just the best usability that there ever was.
It just really depends on the audience and like what your goal is.
Yeah.
But there's no favorite website, no favorite app, no favorite anything that you say, wow, that's awesome.
Google.
I mean, other
It's
seriously,
literally my favorite website.
Google.
No, I read a book about them. Me and my husband, he's a techie guy. I'm more of a design person.
Mhm.
We debate over this all the time. He praises on Steve Jobs, and then I said, you know what, like hardware can be done, but whatever goes on the internet, if you're not visionary, I don't think.
Yeah.
You know, so we debate on that all the time, and then I always tell people that Google is my #1 pick of
Yeah.
all time.
Yeah.
But
It's
you-
the simplest thing ever. But then there's this guy, I forgot his name, Jason something. He has one of those like startup conversation on YouTube channel.
Jason Calacanis.
He's that dude kind of.
Yeah.
He talks a lot.
Yeah.
And he's married
Jason
to like a Korean
what?
wife or something like that.
Calacanis.
so-
CALICANS.
So I just found this
The
like
Twitter's
a couple
at
weeks
Jason.
ago. He's been bashing on all the major internet big companies like Google and like Yahoo and saying, oh, the algorithm doesn't work anymore, it's BS, and and then this guy supposedly he has like millions of dollars, and then he talks like he knows ins and out of Silicon Valley and what's going on. He launched a search site called Mahalo.com.
Oh, Mahalo, okay.
I didn't know before I went into
Yeah,
the
it was in
site.
LA somewhere.
They
They
were
were
doing
hiring,
the
right,
reviews,
somewhere.
and then they're like, "Oh, how he's going to try to have manpower to create content for search results." I was like, okay. But then since it's coming from him, I checked the site out and I don't know, I kind of like my dream of this creating website kind of shattered after seeing his website, because I was like, okay, could this be a limit? If, when you're talking about pushing the limit, okay, so I'm like, what differentiates them and Google? 'Cause Google, I'm pretty sure it took them a long time to scan the whole universe of internet, but this guy, he's saying that he's hiring several hundred manpower people to write content, literally, because they don't want to rely on the programming or code. But if you guys get into the site, it's really ugly. It's really, really ugly. There's really nothing going on. I don't know what he's trying to achieve here, and it's coming from the guy who has one of the biggest mouths in.
Now, here's the thing. Google, to me, is an example of a site designed by a developer.
I don't know.
I disagree.
Really?
No,
You
it's
really?
it's
Seriously?
It's coming from programmers. It's not from developers.
Well, programmer and developer, I use
Well,
them
yeah,
interchangeably.
yeah.
But I look at Google and I think, here's a logo, a form, and 2 buttons. That's like
the essence of design.
Exactly.
Because that's
Seriously?
exactly
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
whole point.
Well-
Google's number one thing is people come here to search. So what do? They take away everything.
Right.
Yeah,
And
you get
so,
the-
so
you
there
get the
is-
job done.
Yeah. I mean, there are 2 different sites, right?
Don't make me
Google
think.
and Amazon. So 2 completely different purposes in a way, right?
Yeah.
And to me, they kind of are really great because on one hand, Amazon has to cram in a lot of stuff and still be relevant and still find you stuff and still be able to sell it really quickly, all that stuff. And if you look at how rich that site is, and in my mind, yeah, maybe sometimes it doesn't work for me, but most of the time it works.
no.
The amount, and
Okay.
then the opposite of that is Google, right? Because it is the complete strip down, because their whole purpose, like you said, is just search. And so those are 2 good examples, although they are extreme examples. They're 2 good examples of 2 good websites.
Well, because
That's kind of
every time I read an article, like I just read this really awesome article, and I forget where it was from. I had the link at home, but it was this really awesome article about how really beautiful pages don't make money. The ugly ones do. Like if you think about eBay, not the most beautiful graphically designed website ever.
Oh, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
That site is crazy good.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, if you just look at eBay from a design from like, if I was thinking from like an artist standpoint, not a whole lot of great examples of like modern art going on eBay. The other thing is Craigslist. Like
But there's a difference between UX and UI. So UX meaning like how does it accomplish my goal? So Craigslist is a great example. That is great UX, but UI, the user interface, the design of it is not there. So people use it because it accomplishes their goal, and so they can look past the whole.
They don't
Right.
come for aesthetics.
right.
Yeah.
You go there because you want to either sell something or buy something.
And they can still achieve that if the aesthetics affected their goal. Like if they couldn't figure out how to post something, that would be a problem.
Or if something was constantly happening someplace else,
Yeah.
that would distract them from what they really came to do, then that's a totally different thing.
So I guess in a way, you could say that the UI and UX is similar to the kind of programmer ethic of being lazy. In a way, in that you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to do it more than once or more than you have to. Say that that's pretty much.
I mean, you just don't want to sacrifice you don't want to sacrifice usability for
Pretty?
right, pretty.
Absolutely.
But you also don't want to have something that's just completely unattractive. I mean, because it does matter whether
Well, you
like,
then
whether
still can't do what you want to do.
Yeah.
If it is so unattractive, it's
Exactly.
it's
It hurts your eyes. It just makes you feel cramped and like
Yeah.
confused. And it's because the best design is the design that you don't notice, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what makes it simple. So
Like the Facebook app is the biggest failure ever. And they tried to put like these new little circles when you get a message with people's picture, and like they just tried to add all this stuff that they have. Yeah, and it's like
there are ads that you don't even want.
you're like, this
Oh,
doesn't. You
traffic.
can't just put all the same things on mobile and like try to dress it up and like make different little icons. Like it doesn't work.
How many people like LinkedIn? How do you think of LinkedIn, the redesign? Like, I mean, there's a lot of money being poured in and a lot of design being done there too.
Mm-hmm.
So with the circles and all that stuff that's happening and all.
I think that's a trend, isn't it?
No,
It's like
I
one
mean,
of the new
circles.
trends.
No,
Is
but
it-
they
no, I mean
created that.
Yeah, circles.
Well, circles as a
I mean,
word,
is
yes,
that-
but they also had, they created that little area on the right?
Talking about the
Who's
app?
connected with you, and actually on the web itself. The app doesn't have that. I think there's very little space for that there. But they have an awful lot going on there too. So.
I mean, I think it really accomplishes, like, I don't know, I think maybe sometimes their search could be a little bit different. It just depends. Like, I don't feel like I use LinkedIn. I'm not one of the
Power users.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use LinkedIn quite a bit,
Mhm.
and just for my purposes of keeping in connect. But I think they have done a pretty good job in terms of the usefulness of it, because I can actually discover people there that I want to connect, and then the user groups as well, and the people that I'm following. I think it's not the best, but it still does it's a very functional website actually.
Mm-hmm. I really like because when I join groups, they kind of send you emails when you have updates.
Yeah.
And so there was one group that I guess I just stopped opening. I was like, I don't even care. And
At
eventually,
8 or 9, you get
eventually
overwhelmed.
they sent me LinkedIn sent me an email and like, hey, we're noticing you're not opening anything. Do you
Wow.
want to change your
profile.
Yeah, and it like I could do it from the email, and I was like, oh, perfect, thank you, that was helpful. So it's like little things like that I think really matter.
You're right, and that's the experience part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is exactly what good user experience is all about. That you have. So it's the consideration, right? The thoughtful design. Actually, that's something that I want to actually write on. Is thoughtful design. There was a whole movement of simplicity, right? If you remember, John made out of Media Lab. That's another great book, right? Simplicity.
Now that's another
That's a
trend that I've been
fantastic
seeing
book,
in user interface is very simple, like clean sites.
Well, that's what Google is.
Well, I mean, Google's the extreme example, but I mean, guys using basic grid types. Literally, it almost looks like okay. Here's 3 squares on the right. Here's 3 squares in the middle. 3 squares over here, and there's another square over here. And boom, that's it. And there's a menu on the top.
Yeah, is that maybe also driven by Metro design, right?
Yes, I think so.
Microsoft's Metro. So that's another big paradigm that people are trying to copy, right? A lot of people want that.
I hated that design. I don't know why somebody would want to copy it.
What did you
Windows
hate?
8.
Money, Metro.
I hate Windows 8. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible implementation of Windows. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Anybody else hate Windows 8?
I don't use Windows.
Oh, okay, there you go. So I guess yes, yes you do.
Which part that you don't like about Windows 8?
The fact that here's the thing. Whenever they tried to bring it up into the big, the whole Metro experience, right? The first thing is, they took away everything that people learned about Windows and everything that people did about Windows the past 20 years, and they just blew it up.
Yeah.
And they just said, okay, here you go. Here's something new for you. We own your ass. So you know what? There you go. You can't get away from us. We're just going to give this to you. Just you're going to like it or not.
Well, that's
And
the way they are.
that is what really. But Apple doesn't do that.
Oh, I don't know.
Apple's pretty much been the same since I think probably, OS 9.
Yeah, but what they did to iTunes was a travesty.
I know.
iTunes is horrible now. It's like the
Still,
worst.
they own you. They own you. Absolutely.
They don't own me. I use Ubuntu. But
And
the thing is,
for Windows 8, already 8.1 is out. It came out 2 days ago.
Well, at least they
because-
gave you back the start
Yeah,
button.
right.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I think that, you know, when a company, oh, that's me, sorry.
Everybody goes
So
for the.
Beyonce done
Only
shopping.
one person.
Well, it is 9
Like
o'clock.
I'm here.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry,
One-
guys.
One other website that I have is called Little Big Details, and it's somebody that just kind of like they point out like the little user experience things, like the
Yeah.
animation stuff. So
Little Big Details.
yeah,
Oh, cool.
so I'll write it down, but
Oh,
it'll say
yeah.
like, you know, like what the animation is like on iPhone for notifications, or
Yeah,
like on
yeah.
Facebook, like new little or stuff that LinkedIn adds that you might not notice right away. So it'll point it out, and it's kind of a cool thing to see like what they're actually doing.
There's another one, Creative Block, that I sometimes use. It's creative and then BLOQ.com.
Okay.
That one's kind of interesting too. They talk about interesting topics, and so that's another one I kind of, when I have the time to
The challenge
read.
is really exactly as you said. For myself, I limit myself very clearly to certain things. I'll say I'll read here, and what I operate on the assumption what I need to know comes to me without any effort on my part, and I have what I need. Here it is, and eventually I use it. So I don't want to scatter myself.
Yeah, I've had to do a detox of
Yeah.
information just because it just
I can
seems to be
imagine.
overwhelming.
That's what's happening to me with my LinkedIn groups.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just getting inundated,
Thanks.
and they are really rich. There are some really good things in there.
It's just too much,
People
man.
start-
But even just too much of a good thing.
Can I ask everybody a question? And I really seriously, I want to, you know,
There's
apart from, you know,
sweet
just
things.
using Fibonacci numbers and divine ratio and everything like that.
Oh, I'm not.
Besides just general mathematics, when I'm writing code, I can test it. I can go to the W3C. I can go to, you know, I can test my JavaScript. I can test everything. I can test my PHP, my SQL, everything I can test. How the hell do you test whether your site's good? Whether it's got a
You
good
let
design?
people use it.
Yeah.
You just gotta show it to people, just shove it in people's faces. Do you use social media at all?
No, I probably should, but something about social media just, just.
It's
you
an
know,
easy way to get people to check out your site. And
I always tell all my friends, I was like, if you don't give me feedback, you're dead to me. So, that's how I do it. And that's like the online card sorting thing.
there's like a usability testing site.
There's a
User
whole
testing,
bunch
yeah.
of forums. Do you know Reddit?
Yes.
Okay, so Reddit, art design, web design. I mean, there's tons of stuff there. And if you post you could just put like looking for feedback, and you'll put a link, and people will tell you what's up.
Yeah. I mean, but is that there's no like way to like, okay.
Well, you can also do like a video, like where in Specklet, I think, have you heard of it? Inspecklet.com, I think is the website. But what they do is they record people on your site, and you can see how they're using it, and it does like eye tracking and stuff like that. And it's really useful feedback to see if people are actually like doing what you think.
But I guess I'm.
Focus group online.
Right.
Well, I understand. I understand what you're saying there from a focus group type of idea. But I'm thinking like, you know, this is the other side of my brain thinking, okay, everything can be solved by some type of testing software. Like I can test for, okay, is this line over here in the proper configuration? Is this line over here proper five pixels down? Is it 5 pixels up? Is this the proper amount of grids over here? Is this the proper amount of, I'm thinking about, is there some type of mathematics that you can do
Nope.
some type of...
Because it's people. You're
Yeah,
working with
that's-
people, and it's just nuts. That's why it's so difficult.
And people are
because-
irrational. So it's
Exactly, and you never know. It's like really we're guessing what people are gonna do. It's insane. So
I understand that. Yeah.
anytime, like I actually,
I'm sorry, man. I feel, because that's one of the things I fight with all the time is finding out.
do you have customer service people where you work? Customer service representatives?
No, I'm doing freelance right now. So
Oh, you're
that's why
doing-
that's why I'm trying to find out different types.
Do
of,
they have a customer service? The people that you're designing this for?
Oh yeah, no, I've got clients and they look at it and they say, okay, it looks great.
No, but I mean, like, for me, I actually get a carbon copy of every, like, chat or complaint that customer service gets online. And a lot of times it's people being like, I can't find blah blah blah, and I'll reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm sorry we wasted some of your time, but if you had a moment, like, could you tell me what it was about the website that you found difficult? And so, like, just try to reach out to people as much. But definitely customer service is, like, one of the first places I go make friends with, because I'm just like, you're going to tell me what everybody's complaining about, so I can fix it.
And if they're complaining, then they must like you enough to say something.
Yes.
Yeah.
They take the time
It's like
to let
fix
you
this.
know. That's
Yeah.
valuable, really valuable.
So how did everybody think about it? I mean, I was thinking
Yay.
You stayed on top.
Where's the fireworks?
I was thinking about getting like little sparklers, and I was like, I don't know if you get in trouble for like a fire hazard, and then the sprinklers come on.
There is an ad that I've seen a few nights, and I'm not much of a TV person. I'm sort of the PBS kind of. But I love PBS. But there is this ad on one of the channels that I watch where it's some cell phone. It must be an iPhone, where some kids start running with these sparklers. These how do you call these?
The sparkler?
The sparklers, and then all of a sudden you have this, and they come from all kinds of streets, and at night they run through some street, and then here it is, and then it's Verizon, and it says. Well, if you experience something so wonderful, you want to share it with everybody, and only the top G4 something lets you do this. It's just the ad itself is nice, where young kids run through streets somewhere, and then they all congregate on this central market type of place. Reminds me of home. But it's beautiful. It's a very nice ad.
Well, sorry, I didn't get
Just
any
for the
sparklers.
sparklers.